What if everything you've heard about bunker busters was only half the story? For more than 20 years, Iran poured enormous resources into one idea: not building a bigger air force, not building a stronger navy, but building mountains that could fight. Entire underground missile cities disappeared beneath solid rock. Long tunnels stretched for miles beneath the surface. Hidden rail systems carried launchers through the darkness. Missiles waited behind blast doors carved into granite. From above, there was almost nothing to see. From below, there was an entire military infrastructure designed to survive a modern war. The assumption behind all of it was surprisingly simple. If America could never destroy the missiles, then Iran would always have a second strike. And if that second strike always existed, no enemy could ever feel completely safe. For years, many defense analysts believed that assumption was largely correct. Conventional bombs could destroy buildings. Cruise missiles could flatten air bases. Stealth aircraft could eliminate radar networks. But mountains were different. Rock hundreds of feet thick does not surrender easily, especially when engineers spend decades designing every tunnel, every blast door, and every escape route specifically to survive an air campaign. That was the philosophy behind what Iran called its missile cities. Not warehouses, not bunkers, cities. Self-contained underground complexes capable of storing missiles, launch vehicles, fuel, command centers, maintenance, in some cases even production equipment. Some facilities reportedly connected multiple tunnel networks through reinforced passageways. Others were designed so launchers could emerge, fire within minutes, and disappear underground again before enemy aircraft even arrived. The objective was never to hide forever. It was to remain alive long enough to keep fighting. That strategy reshaped military planning across the Middle East. Any nation considering a strike against Iran faced the same uncomfortable question. Even if you destroyed everything visible, how much remained invisible? For nearly 2 decades, nobody had a convincing answer. Then something changed. Not with a new missile. Not with a new fighter aircraft. But with a weapon that had spent years waiting quietly inside America's arsenal. A weapon so specialized that only one aircraft on Earth could carry it. A bomb built for a single purpose. Not to destroy buildings. Not to crater runways. But to keep falling. Long after every other bomb had already stopped. When that weapon finally entered combat, it wasn't simply another airstrike. It became the first real test of a question military planners had debated for years. Could modern air power actually defeat an underground fortress? Or had engineering finally become stronger than bombing? That question would shape one of the most important air operations of the 21st century. And the answer turned out to be far more complicated than either side expected. To understand why these underground bases mattered so much, you first have to understand what modern air power is actually designed to destroy. Most military targets live on the surface. Runways, radar stations, fuel depots, aircraft shelters, command buildings. They are exposed, visible, and once detected, they can usually be destroyed within minutes. Underground facilities change that equation completely. Every additional meter of rock forces a bomb to lose energy before it ever reaches its target. Every reinforced tunnel absorbs shock. Every blast door slows the pressure wave that normally tears a structure apart. Instead of attacking a building, an air force is fighting geology itself. That is exactly why Iran invested so heavily beneath its mountains. Rather than relying on a few massive missile bases, engineers reportedly built multiple tunnel networks, spread across different regions. If one entrance collapsed, another might remain usable. If one storage chamber was damaged, missiles could potentially be relocated through connecting passages. Redundancy became the real weapon. The missiles were important, but keeping them alive was even more important. For years, this strategy quietly worked. Military planners knew where many of these facilities were located. Satellite imagery revealed construction. Intelligence agencies mapped entrances. Analysts estimated tunnel layouts. Knowing where something exists, however, is very different from being able to destroy it. That presented a difficult strategic problem. If underground missiles survived the opening days of a conflict, they could continue launching long after surface air defenses had disappeared. A campaign that looked successful on television could still leave hundreds of missiles untouched beneath the mountains. That uncertainty forced every military planner to think differently. Instead of asking, how many targets can we destroy? The question became, how do we reach targets that weren't ever meant to be reached? The answer was years in development. American engineers didn't simply build a larger bomb. They built a weapon around physics. Instead of maximizing explosive power, the priority became penetration. Its hardened steel body was designed to survive enormous impact forces, rather than exploding immediately. It continues driving downward. Concrete. Rock layer after layer. Only after reaching a programmed depth does the fuse activate. In theory, the explosion happens where it matters most, deep inside the structure itself. It represented a completely different philosophy of warfare. Older bunker busters attacked the entrance. This weapon attempted to attack the heart. But even that raised another question. How deep is deep enough? Because military engineers had spent decades asking exactly the same question. And they weren't designing bombs. They were designing mountains to defeat them. The result became a technological competition, and like almost anything else in modern warfare, one side kept building stronger bombs. The other kept digging deeper underground. Neither side could afford to stop. And eventually, that contest would move from the testing range to the battlefield itself.